Candyman is directed by Nia DaCosta, featuring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, I believe that's how you say his name, and this is a sequel to the original 1992 movie, a direct sequel ignoring Candyman Farewell to the Flesh and Candyman 3 Day of the Dead, I think it's called? I don't know, it's ignoring the two other Candyman movies to be a direct sequel to the original in the same vein of what the 2018 Halloween was to the original Halloween movie from 1978. In present day, a decade after the last of the Cabrini towers were torn down, Anthony and his partner move into a loft in the now gentrified Cabrini. A chance encounter with an old-timer exposes Anthony to the true horror behind Candyman. Anxious to use these details in his studio as fresh grist for paintings, he unknowingly opens a door to a complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence. Now guys, before I give you my review of the 2021 Candyman, I want to see what you have to say down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere right in the middle? Please comment down below and let me know. This is a movie I was very, very excited for the reason that I've always been a massive fan of the 1992 original film that, you know, kind of revitalized a sort of love for horror in the 90s. I know a lot of people say Scream and all that sort of stuff, as well as Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but for me personally, Candyman is the 90s horror movie that always held a special place in my heart. Saw might have been my introduction to the horror franchise, and I obviously love that series, and Halloween might be my favorite horror movie of all time, but Candyman is the one that made me appreciate those slow burn horrors like Hereditary or Midsommar. Yes, I know the examples I gave are just Ari Aster, but slow burn horror movies that really adapt into lore, nuance, and mystery. Those are the types of horror movies I love aside from the general slashers and gornos. And Candyman is the one that made me love that type of horror, the slow burn sort of urban legends. And knowing that there was a new one coming out, I was fucking ecstatic. Knowing that Nia DaCosta ended up getting handed a Marvel property, which is the Captain Marvel sequel called The Marvels, made me even more excited. But none of the trailers truly impressed me. That first one, when I first saw it, I was fucking stoked. And then I kind of watched it over and over again. I'm like, oh, this actually doesn't look too great. So I went to an early screening tonight, and I've got to say, I am more than satisfied with the result we got. Candyman is easily, without a doubt, the best horror movie we've had in 2021, and one of my favorite movies of the entire year. If it wasn't for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Mugen Train coming out earlier this year, this would be my favorite movie of the year. Candyman gave me everything I wanted and more. Admittedly, I do have a few issues regarding some of the kills and everything being off screen with never showing the following result, like the end result, like the original movie did. You know, with like Helen's friend and everything, when she was murdered in the apartment. We got to see the aftermath, although we didn't see the actual attack. There is a lot of that in this movie, but sometimes we don't see the end result. This movie starts off insanely strong with the kills regarding a brutal first fucking death for the movie, and then it kind of goes on the trope of sometimes it will show the aftermath, sometimes it wouldn't even show us the body, and it would just happen off screen, which is very disappointing. Granted, there is still a lot of fucking violence and gore in this movie, which is something I appreciate and love, especially for a movie like Candyman. This is not a PG movie. This is violent. And a character like Candyman being kept a PG and everything would just be a sin, which I kind of felt that Day of the Dead and Farewell to the Flesh did, while Farewell to the Flesh was just almost a retread completely of the original film, and Day of the Dead is just a fucking disaster. This movie kept true to what Candyman was. Nia DaCosta truly embodies what made the first movie so brilliant, and that's the nuance, the mystery, and the slow build-up. That first movie takes 45 minutes or so before Tony Todd even turns up. Before we see the real Candyman, it takes half of the movie in the original 90s film. In this one, it's not so much like that, but it's more the mystery unraveling, seeing our main character, Anthony, go insane and truly lose his mind the more he looks into Candyman, the more he becomes obsessed with him, with his art to create, you know, sort of galleries and shows and everything about the Candyman or whatever. It is truly fascinating to me the way that Nia DaCosta brought this movie to life. Through her stunning, perfect direction, this movie also has a beautiful visual aesthetic to it. Everything is so sharp and crisp, beautifully framed constantly, but everything is also lit perfectly. Admittedly, with all the Candyman stuff, the character of Candyman is only ever really shown in reflections of like mirrors or on tarps through beautiful lighting and reflections, never in the present. We rarely see that in this film, making for some truly traumatizing and horrifying imagery in the process. Although the score of this movie cannot truly beat Philip Glass's masterpiece of a musical score from the original, the musical score in this movie provided something that was similar to Philip Glass and reminded me of the tone of the original, while also being its own modern thing and modern take, realizing that this is a modern adaptation of this character that is following on almost 30 years since the original was released. And for that reason alone, I have such an appreciation for this film because it knows exactly what it is, while also trying to adapt it in a way where it trusts the audience. There are elements of this movie that you will not understand unless you have seen the first film. There are things referenced, there are things revealed, that if you haven't seen the first Candyman movie, you will be fucking confused. And that's something I appreciate. It trusts the audience to have seen the original movie, while also other information that might be new in this movie, it trusts you to put the pieces together yourself. It doesn't just spurt out this bullshit I just had a stroke. It doesn't just blab out this expository dialogue like, you know, it's just telling the audience the information. It more tells it towards the characters, and for us as the audience to then listen in, but also in a way that we don't always truly understand. You've got to listen to every piece of information where if you don't, you might not understand the next scene. You might not be able to put all the pieces together to truly understand what happens in the ending. And I know for a lot of people, they will not understand this movie. And I completely get that. That's completely fine. This is a very, very slow movie, admittedly. But that's something I appreciate about it because it took its time to develop a narrative. It took its time to develop further laws, as well as adapting from that first movie and pulling narratives to branch out further and to become a bigger, wider thing within the Candyman sort of lore, urban legend, and universe. And I hope this franchise continues now with sequels that are more like this 2021 film rather than the other 90s sequels, Farewell to the Flesh and Day of the Dead. It's a mystery, it's so nuanced, it's so fucking mind-boggling, but at the same time you appreciate the fact that it trusts the audience to put the pieces together itself. Admittedly, when I first finished watching the movie, I was like, what the fuck? And then my mate and I, on the way home from the screening, because I saw this with a buddy of mine, we ended up talking about it further and further, and we started to unveil putting certain bits of information together, and we're like, holy shit, that's the type of movie this is, to discuss with friends, to have seen the original, put the pieces together. When shit is unveiled, you go, holy shit, there was shit I expected, and I welcome those things I expected because it was done right. There was also other shit I didn't expect at all, took me completely off guard, and it was fucking beautiful to see. There are Easter eggs in this movie that I appreciated. There were new elements brought in to develop the lore even further. And although at times the script for this movie regarding dialogue isn't particularly strong, the performances across the board make up for the fact. Abdul-Mateen II, I want to see get an Oscar nomination next year. I know the Academy probably won't recognize him, but he is truly brilliant in this movie because the dialogue isn't particularly great and there isn't much more development for the character for a reason that I won't spoil because it is very spoiler heavy as to who the character of Anthony is, that Abdul-Mateen plays. But there isn't much more there, but his performance made me care about this character so much. What he's going through, how he's going insane, slower by slower, the more obsessed he becomes, the more he unveils with this crazy sort of urban legend of Candyman. And I felt the same thing about his partner, whose character name escapes me. But she was also really good. Granted, every other character in the movie is kind of there for a body count, and I don't give a flying fuck about. There are disposable characters, there are characters there purely to make a body count, but every movie like this, slashes are kind of like that. Movies like Candyman are kind of like that. And that's okay in my opinion, because it knows which characters to focus on. Granted, there are a few scenes here and there that felt a little unnecessary, that didn't feel like they needed to necessarily be in there, but there were bits of information that felt like they belonged, because each scene is connected and intertwined and stitched together, where if you go to the bathroom, you feel like you will miss something, and that's what the movie does so well. It trusts you to stay invested and to keep your attention, and I love that. And need I mention, admittedly, not much really happens until the final 30 minutes like the original film. And when shit does happen beforehand, it's great to see, but it really starts to hit the fan. Shit starts to go south in the final 30 minutes, but where the movie truly shines in the stuff of Candyman is in the last 10 minutes. I'm not going to spoil why. You guys are going to see why. and it is truly fucking satisfying. And with what they do at the ending of this movie, I really want to see where they go next with this. Although I have my issues in regards to some of the dialogue, there's some, moments in the movie that don't necessarily feel like they belong. There are some characters, admittedly, that I found a little fucking annoying, especially, Anthony's partner's brother for a certain reason and everything. He kind of is just a dick. Oh, did he summon the Candyman? Did the Candyman finally get him? Shut the fuck up, dude. But overall, Candyman fucking surprised me. This is the best horror movie of the year. One of the best horror movies I've seen in a very, very long time. And easily, if it wasn't for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Mugen Train coming out earlier this year, this would be my favorite movie of the entire year. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I really hope you guys go watch the original beforehand because it will really help. What might even help more is watching the original right before seeing this one. I truly recommend doing that because it definitely helped my viewing experience. And my mate who had never seen Candyman, we watched it together right before going to the screening, and he's so thankful he did. He's like, if I didn't see the original movie beforehand, I wouldn't have fucking understood. Candyman is one of my favorite movies the entire year. There's certain shit I want to talk about, but I can't because it is so spoiler heavy, especially the stuff that they do with the narrative, the characters, and the urban legend sort of lore built around Candyman. And if you want to see me discuss it more, please let me know. But overall, Candyman is one of my favorite movies of the entire year. So with all that said, I'm going to give Candyman an A-. So guys, what did you think of Candyman? I want to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere right in the middle? Please comment down below. Let me know. Do be sure to also follow the social medias at Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Twitch to watch my live streams and keep updated for content coming to the channel. Do be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new videos are up every single week. Do be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.